Hello guys and welcome back to this speed development commentary. I am John BenderWaffles Algis, and today we are taking a look at the modern city speed development. So let's just jump right into it and let's get talking about this. Now this was actually a map that I was creating for a game project that I was working on that I actually had to abandon just because I didn't have the time to dedicate to it that it really deserved. But I got actually a few speed developments out of it. Basically, if you see me use this map or this tile set for a speed development, it was probably a map for this game project because I'm not a super huge fan of this tile set, so I don't use it a lot, but I definitely did here. So basically, this is a more modern city than you might be used to seeing on the channel, and with that comes a few sort of differences. For instance, when you're doing a more modern, more urban sort of city, you have to keep in mind that modern cities aren't as open as your sort of typical fantasy city. So you're not really going to have many places that the player can go outside of, sort of the roads and sidewalks and things of that nature. Now, some urban centers, obviously they'll have like alleys and things of that nature, and you can definitely incorporate those. But for the most part, it should be a lot denser and a lot just like more tightly packed. And you'll definitely see that in this map. Now, you'll also notice in this map that this is a very green city. There's a ton of trees, a lot of grass, things of that nature. You have to keep in mind that I'm from Oregon. So my frame of reference for a big city is Portland, and Portland is a extremely green, extremely eco-friendly sort of city. So I feel like that definitely came through in this map. It wasn't necessarily something that I was like setting out and trying to do. I wasn't like necessarily sitting there going like, I'm going to create a Portland-esque city, but that's just naturally how it came out. That also has a lot to do with the fact that I use trees to fill in places quite a bit to just make maps feel a lot more alive. Some people call it lazy. I just call it good map design, but it's sort of my mapping style. It's part of what I normally do. So it was expected that I was definitely going to use them here as well. Now, this was meant to be sort of the hub map for this game. The idea of the game was that it was going to be players would sort of exist in this modern world and they'd have like kind of normal lives, but then every once in a while they'd find these like gateways to this other world. And in the other world would be much more of your like traditional JRPG fantasy sort of setting. I know that idea has been done. I believe the Persona series, that's basically how they do things. Hilariously enough, I've actually never really put in a ton of time into a Persona game. But it was definitely something that was on my mind when I was working on this project. I was like, okay, so this is, sort of in that style. So, just keep that in mind when you're looking at this map, what sort of game it was going to be for. But as I said, this was going to be the hub map, so obviously I needed to have access to a lot of the sort of stuff that a hub map would have. So you've got all your, you got your item shop, you got your inn, your weapon store, your armor store, and some place to heal, which actually I want to like take a second to actually like talk about this. So this healing spot, it uses a green cross, and I recognize that Red Cross is actually a registered trademark to the Red Cross, the actual organization. That's why within video games, you don't often see the Red Cross. I mean, you probably think that you do a lot more than you actually do, but go back and look at a lot of like classic games that have like health packs and things of that nature, and you'll notice that a lot of them just say like HP or something else, or maybe they have like a slightly different Red Cross. But the actual like, just standard Red Cross is a registered trademark. So you don't see that anymore, which is probably why this cross on this building up here is green. But that's funny to me, at least, because at the very least in America, and it might be the case elsewhere, I'm not 100% on all this information, but at the very least in America, the green cross denotes a medical marijuana dispensary. So in my game about just your normal everyday folk going on adventures, they heal themselves at a medical marijuana dispensary. I just realized that now. Like, that's not something that I purposely was like, hey, this is the way that I'm going to have it. But funny little side note about the tile set. It's one of those things that, again, it might not be the case elsewhere, but it's certainly the case in the United States. So I just wanted to like take a second once we sort of pull back and get a look at the whole map to just further illustrate to you, like, this is a much denser map than you're used to seeing, especially on this channel or just in RPGs in general. And again, that comes down to the fact that this is a urban center. This is meant to be sort of like your uptown sort of like basic like urban area where like people live, people work here, like all that sort of stuff. So it's, you know, there's going to be a lot going on. Some people have said that this map seems kind of busy, and I'm going to agree with them. It is certainly sort of busy. But overall I like it. There are a few things that I'm looking at now I'm not a super huge fan of. This road basically serves no purpose. I believe my original plan was I was going to have buildings down here, but I just kind of didn't. And so now there's a wall. If I was going to have this road, if I was going to redesign this map and I was going to have this road here, I think I'd make it one of these small little side streets as opposed to a full-fledged 2-lane sort of highway setup, because there's nothing down here and there's no purpose for this road to be here, which is not great. This might be my favorite part of the map, just because this feels like a great, like this feels like an actual city over here, because it's so like tightly packed and there's a lot going on in this one little segment of the map here. So as I said, this was meant to be sort of the central hub. And as you'll notice, you'll look at this map and you'll see some very obvious navigational sort of, you know, directions for the player to go. You've got your left, right, up, and down. I believe over this way was meant to be like another district like this, but that's where like the school was going to be and things of that nature. I don't remember what was over here. I believe up this way was like an industrial sector. Down here was parks, and then leading into a sort of slum area. And so like this was very much meant to be where the players they'd sort of go out on their adventure and explore from here, which is also why you have access to all the major stores. Now, other districts might have, you know, like weapons and things of that nature. I'm pretty sure the slum district had a weapon shop and an armor shop, but that was meant to be a sort of late game area, so it makes sense for there to be sort of another store that has, you know, maybe better weapons or better armor and things of that nature. I don't think the school had a weapon shop on that map, which makes sense. Because why would you have a weapon shop near a school? I do try to think of some of these things at least. But, you know, I think that if I was going to revisit this game project, I think I would probably start from scratch. I might actually use the Pop Horror City tile set instead, because as long as you ignore like the broken windows and all the blood and everything, that tile set can serve pretty well as a like just standard modern city map, and I definitely prefer that style. But who knows? Maybe I'll revisit this. As I said, there's plenty of other speed developments that have made maps for this game project. Basically, if you see this tile set, it was for that project. But if you guys would like to see more from this game project, maybe like to see me work on it some. I don't have a ton of time, but if it was for a video for my channel, I think I could probably justify it. But if you guys would like to see more of it, click that like button and leave a comment down below. And while you're down there, you can subscribe and click the little bell to be notified when I upload videos. It's the idea of like you subscribe, but then you have to click a bell to be actually notified when I do something is kind of stupid. because isn't that what the purpose of subscribing was? But we're not gonna worry too much about that. But anyways, guys and gals, I hope that you enjoyed this video, and from here on out, I hope that you have a good one.